To be honest, he's not putting his belt in this fight, but after beating him, it's like I feel as the BMF.
If Ilia Topuria wins and beats Max Holloway in a defining way, maybe knocking him out, submitting him, who knows, does he win the contest for the greatest fighter of the year over someone like Alex Pereira, let's say?
Pereira has been incredibly impressive this year.
Mm-hmm.
He's headlined the biggest events. I don't think he's ever had more of an aura around him as a champion. I don't think he's ever had more fans. And not only that, we know he's also been through adversity. He may have made it look easy, but a lot of the performances, if you know the background of them, it's just more of an argument maybe to push him towards being fighter of the year. That being said, though, what you said made me think as well, because if Ilia does beat Max, that is the two best featherweight champions ever beaten in the same year.
And where would you rank Jamal Hill, Yuri Prohaska, and Khalil, the number 8 guy, by the way, who gave him a lot of problems? Where would you rank those guys among the best light heavyweights ever? They wouldn't even crack the top 20. They're nowhere near that discussion. I mean, you could go on for days just naming like the light heavyweight greats, and yeah, none of those guys are scratching the surface. Whereas Ilia is literally, if he, walks through Max Holloway, if he knocks him out, holy shit.
He knocks him out.
That's the paradox of this fight. It's like Ilia knocks everyone out, but Max Holloway never gets knocked out, but Ilia knocks everyone out. So it's like, which one actually happens here? Maybe it is just a decision. I don't know. But if he can finish him, especially, dude, to me, that's way more impressive. Like, I'm a huge fan of what Alex Pereira has done this year. I also have been very critical, though, because I don't think he's fighting the toughest guys. I just straight up don't. I think he's been fighting fan-friendly matchups. So in terms of popularity, absolutely. Yeah. So then it becomes a debate. What actually is the fighter of the year? Is it the most popular guy, or is it the person who's actually going out there and doing the toughest, most ridiculous challenges you could possibly do?
Yeah, I think that's interesting as well.
It's a bit of both sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah, you bring up that point because talking about popularity is like Alex Pereira is the most popular he's ever been. Yeah. He is showing up and injured and things going on, infections, antibiotics, doing all this stuff and just fighting and looking unabashed, unfazed, and taking on the challenge in front of him and winning, right? In the stone-faced manner that he does, everyone can get behind that. Topuria, I feel, is a little bit like aloof. He hasn't really had that moment where he's earned people over, and now he's kind of disappeared. And he's this. I haven't seen a lot from Topuria at all, other than this week because his fight's coming up.
Topuria, it feels like to me, he's like mentally living 5 years in the future, where he already feels like he's like the most dominant champion ever. And like, obviously his confidence was really apparent going into the Volkanovski fight. And that is what he surrounds himself with in terms of an aura, that he's this infallible, like Jesus who's been resurrected within the sport to come and become the greatest fighter ever. And I think one of the reasons he's buying that BMF belt is because he's already at the point where a title defense is not enough for him. He wants more than just a title defense. So he's like, I want the BMF belt. That needs to be on the line. Like, I want to do the biggest, craziest stuff. Because in his head, he's already like established. I want to throw a curveball in here, because as much as we're talking about Ilia maybe taking over that spot for fighter of the year, I think there's a discussion to be had about Max Holloway. Because if Max Holloway knocks out Ilia Topuria, recency bias included, Max has what's been called the greatest knockout of all time this year, certainly one that was incredibly viral. He's already a beloved fighter, and if he beats Ilia Topuria, who's beaten Volkanovski, we know how good Ilia is. I mean, I think it's a pretty good argument for Max as well. He'd only have 2 fights, which probably maybe would throw it off, but that would be incredible for Max Holloway as well. What a fucking year for that guy, So as much as we're looking at Ilia, I'm like, fucking Max wins, you could fucking give him the fighter of the year.
Popularity traditionally has not been a criteria for fighter of the year. I don't think it should be. It is about what you do. Yeah. It is about accomplishment. It's about what you've done. What's the hardest fucking thing that somebody did multiple times this year, and the greatest accomplishment? We're probably going to give it to, if Ilia can get that knockout, yes. If Max does, I mean, he's going to be a contender for sure. You could probably make the argument for it, but I would probably go with the 3 title defenses.
It's hard to tell. Like,
Alex Pereira.
What if Max does almost the same thing as he did to Gaethje, to Ilia, where it's just like he baits him into some crazy and he knocks him out and if he does that twice in 1 year?
It's a hell of a picture to see BMF and UFC title on his shoulders.
That's what I also mean. He'll be double champ in a different way. Also, no one has ever done that either.
However, if the
Not that it means much.
BMF is not on the line, we kind of have to treat them separately, right?
No, we don't.
I don't think we should, but that's kind of what
Connor's
they're doing.
featherweight belt wasn't on the line.
No, but that's the point, isn't it? Is that if Max loses, we can all say, oh, well, he's the BMF. He shows up and he does what he does,
Yeah, of
you know.
course,
So
yeah.
we've got that fallback option.
The only problem with that is I kind of asked the question, why did we never see Jorge defend the BMF? Because he got knocked the fuck out.
Yeah.
So it's hard to be like, I'm still the BMF. However, Max Holloway, he kind of already has the fan support, and people probably, if he loses a decision, definitely, right? But if he gets knocked out,
Well,
I mean, they might
don't know.
reset it again. That's another thing, too.
yeah.
the BMF kind of changed narrative, didn't it? Before it was kind of
Yeah,
like
'cause he
this is like
retired.
the gangsters belt who like they're not champions, but they're fucking they come down and they scrap. Whereas now Max is like this is like a veteran who will literally fight anyone. He'll go up and wait and fight people. Whereas Jorge wasn't doing that. They were riding a wave and they kind of built on top of it to make him even more of a star. With Alex Pereira, on the other hand, how much him stepping up and saving the day goes into the fact that makes him fighter of the year.
Yeah,
because
true.
we're talking about the BMF and how we love how Holloway will fight anyone and do anything. Pereira's kind of done that. And whether or not he's choosing his opponents, he's getting matched favorably, or he's just signing on the line to say, okay, fight this guy now, Alex, and he's like, Shama. The fact that he saved 3 cards in a row, the fact that he stepped up on short notice with injuries, with touring around Australia, no training camp, just goes to Salt Lake City and be like, I'm going to work it out. It will be fine. Topuria has kind of got the belt, acted all arrogant, once said, I'm not defending the belt, I want bigger, and has fucked off, and now he's just back again now, and he's ready again now, when he's sort of like, kind of lost that favorability with the fans. Whereas some people like to capture on the moment and fight, like Izzy, like Volk, like Pereira now.
Alex Pereira absolutely deserves to be commended. I am a fan of him, despite as much as I shit on the fact that he's not fighting the toughest guys. Is the truth. He's not fighting the toughest guys. And whether, Ilia's taken a little bit more time to do it, I think it really just depends. If this fight pans out to where Holloway looks amazing and Ilia looks kind of bad, let's say Ilia at the beginning, maybe he lands some big shots, but he fades, and there's a controversial decision where Holloway somehow loses. Okay, yeah, definitely not going to give Ilia fight of the year for that. But if he, destroys
He has
Holloway,
to go out and finish him.
Absolutely. And, they are legitimately the 2 best featherweights of all time.
If he does go out and finish Max. Against Pereira's the title challenges he's had, everyone's been kind of not given a belt, but pushed to a belt quickly, and no one's been able to defend it. Jamal got injured in a bloody basketball game. He couldn't defend his belt. Yuri got injured. He couldn't defend his belt. Khalil never made it to a belt. So there's the strength of competition just pales in comparison compared to Holloway, who is essentially a champion in his own right because he's batting away all the contenders. There was a point where Volk was going, please stop giving Max my contenders. I have no one to fight.
As we talked, it's been all champions, basically. Leon last year, then Volk, then Usman, then Izzy, then Cormier, all guys who either won the title that year and defended it or made good defenses. So Max won it in 2017.
I think even the other week when Pereira won, I think John Anik, one of the first calls was the fighter of the year, defends his title or something. So I think it's pretty much signed, sealed and delivered that Pereira is going to be that.
Do you think recency bias will affect that though?
I think so.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, because that's in the moment. But then if Ilia knocks out Max,
I don't know where Volk was after the second loss to Islam, but he was number 1 before that head kick.
He went down to number 2.
So was it just one spot that he lost? I didn't know if he got knocked down further than that. So he's beating the number 2 pound for pound guy at the beginning of this year, Ilia is. And then now he's looking at Holloway, who is, right up there. In the last 5 years, he's only lost to Volk and Dustin. You did make a good point, though, with Holloway. If it is a crazy enough, if it turns into another, ridiculous Gaethje style knockout that's this is what makes you fall in love with this sport type kind of moment, then yeah, he might be able to steal it. When have you ever seen that? When somebody points down against the stronger striker up a weight class and then knocks them out in the last second, that's like a 1 out of a million fight. Forget 1,000, 100, whatever. If he can do that again, something like that, then yeah, we might actually be looking at someone stealing that, because then he's beaten a top contender in another weight class, took a belt, and then got a second belt in the same year. Obviously, one is worth more than the other. And it's against the guy who just knocked out his arch nemesis, the guy he couldn't beat. So yeah, that would be good, but it has to be, to get Fighter of the Year, has to be Fighter of the Year worthy. Pereira, what he's done has already essentially clinched that, unless one of these guys can do something to kind of usurp that. Something wild, something crazy. And a knockout over Max Holloway, yeah, that would do it for me.
Right, everybody, thank you for watching today. We know we haven't done a few of these for a week or so, so members, this one's for you, a full-length episode of the podcast. If you want to watch it as well, and you're only getting the edited version, it's $2.99 if you want to sign up to the membership program. The button is there, the link is in the description, and we love our members, don't we?
Yes.
You're like family to us.